Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with.
Jim Johnson. I am the project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game published by Modiphius Entertainment. Manny, thank you so much for having me on the show again.
So, today we're going to talk about Star Trek Adventures Utopia Planitia, a Starfleet sourcebook. Now, has there ever been. Well, I guess we should talk first about what exactly is this book. It's definitely very different from what's been put out so far.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct? Or
Yeah. This is the big Starships book that we've been wanting to do for a long time now, right? The game's been out for six years now, heading into year six, something like that. I feel like I've been working on it forever, but which is a good thing, a good forever, not a bad forever. But we've not really done a Starships book yet. We had a lot of space frames in the Command Source book, and then we did Klingon ships in the Klingon core rule book. And then it wasn't until the Discovery book that came out earlier this year that we added more space frames to the game, just to give players and game masters more stuff to play with. And we knew we were going to follow that up with the big old Utopia Planitia book, which is all Starfleet all the time, a whole bunch of new space frames, a whole bunch of revisions to existing space frames. So this is really an all-in-one package for everything Starships. I know there's a huge number of fans that are big about Starships, really love their Starships. So this is the book. This is probably in addition to just having lots of Starships, this is probably the crunchiest book we've done, just in terms of talents, weapons, Starship frames, space frames, just meaty, crunchy stuff to add to your game. And it's a lot. I mean, it's 256 pages, so it's a behemoth of a book, and I'm super excited to have it ready to go to the printer, and then of course this episode will air probably mid-September, so it'll be at the printer and probably on the way to the UK here pretty shortly thereafter, and then of course it'll get on the slow boat to the States. But just super excited to put this book together. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I know longtime Star Trek Adventures writer Aaron Alea has also wanted to do a Starships book for a while, so we were able to make it work, in the schedule.
I'm really excited about this book because it's something about Star Trek ships. Just recently, a lot of friends and myself have been trying to actually find old technical books about it, and which I find it's interesting because there's so many of them out there. Not too many sci-fi genres out there have books and books about technical aspects of ships, and I think something about the design of from the original till now still captures our imagination. We want to know what's in there, how are the rooms situated, how do the decks put together, what is where exactly. If I may ask, was that sort of where the idea for this sort of came from? Was there a discussion there's been a lot of talk about getting more ships out there and creating your own ships?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I knew that even earlier on when I was working on the game, just as a writer and an editor, I knew that the fan base wanted more ships. And of course, as a Star Trek gamer myself for years and years, I always wanted more ships too. And I think it was clear that there was always a demand for it. And at this point, Star Trek is 55, 56 years old, and there's so many novels and comic books and other RPGs and stuff that there is just a wealth of space frames out there and types of starships in the beta canon, right? Not in the main canon itself, but in the beta canon. Of course, you got Star Trek Online as well. It just has a wealth of new ships in the game, and a lot of fans want that stuff in Star Trek Adventures, right? They wanted to be able to play those secondary canon ships in the game, and it's like, well, we can only do so much, right? We can kind of skirt it a little bit. We can occasionally drop in one like the Luna class. And in the Archer class, we got the Archer class into the tricorder set, but we had to be kind of careful because, we don't have the ability to include any of the old FASA ships, even though they were amazing, and those are what I grew up on. Right, I remember fondly flipping through the Starship Recognition manuals, the Klingon, Romulan, and Federation ones that FASA put out ages ago. Right, it was just like more ships, more cool stuff, and I knew that we wanted to do a book like that for Star Trek Adventures, and then just through the process figured out what it was going to look like. But yeah, we knew fairly early on that we wanted to do this book and that there was fan demand for it, so we made sure to get it on the schedule when we could, when it made sense to fit it in. And gosh, we got lucky with the timing, I'll tell you. And I say that because we've been building a relationship with the folks at Star Trek Online, especially Thomas Maroney, the associate art director over there. And over the years of our products, we've been able to drop in like one ship, and we use some of their artwork, and we were able to do like giveaways, like where if you buy the Star Trek Adventures book, you get a free download code for a Star Trek Online ship. So we've had that kind of relationship going, and then we've gradually kind of increased that. And Thomas was super generous with his time and his assets to where he was able to provide us a bunch of artwork for the Discovery book, including a lot of the Starship art and the Dot 7 and a couple other bits and pieces. And I was like, wow, we can really take this to, he and I talked about it. We said, we could really take this to the next level for the Starships book. And he was a huge asset for us on the Star Trek, on the Utopia Planitia book. And he wrote the foreword for us, which I thought was, really great of him to do that, and provided a ton of art. He even wrote up a bunch of the Star Trek Online ships for us. And the reason I was saying that it's just great timing is that as we were wrapping up the development of the manuscript, we found out that a bunch of Star Trek Online ships were going to be canonized in the first episode of, in Star Trek Picard season 2, in the first episode, and then I think some of the later episodes. And that was just super exciting, right? To know that Thomas's work was going to be actually on the big screen, as it were. and then I realized, oh shoot, we're going to have some of those ships in our book too. This is super cool. So we just got really excited. And I told Thomas, I admit that we're kind of riding on his coattails a little bit, because we're just taking advantage of all that wealth of material that he has, and he's super generous about it anyway. So I think we're really fortunate, because this is giving us an opportunity to get Star Trek Adventures in front of an audience who may have been familiar with it, but maybe not have played it. Like the Star Trek Online game fan base is huge, and they're super passionate about their starships, and they're super passionate about their game. And if we can just get a little bit of crossover to that, and kind of like blend Star Trek Adventures and Star Trek Online together, I think that's going to be a win for everybody. And I know that Paramount is super excited when their licensees work with each other, right? So we've worked with Eagle Moss, and we've worked with Star Trek Timelines, and we've worked with Star Trek Online, and they just love seeing it, because they don't have to ask us, please go work with your other licensees. We just do it ourselves, because we know each other on social media and the boards and stuff. So it's just fortuitous timing for this book. We got blessed and we got lucky. I think just the way the timing worked out on it.
You sort of answered this already, but part of it at least already. How far in the lore do you have, or the ships presented in this book? Are they like do you go all the way back to the original series? Do you go? It looks like definitely Picard and Star Trek Online. Is it like everything that you can?
Yeah, well, I originally had outlined the book to cover everything Starfleet from the very beginning, pre-Enterprise, all the way out to the 32nd century. And just in the process of working the outline and putting together the list of ships that we wanted to include, there was just so much. I realized that there was no way in the world I would ever be able to do a 500-page Starship book, even though I know a lot of people would buy it and they would be happy to have this gigantic, massive tome. I was like, there's just no way I can do that. So I decided to cut the 32nd century completely. The Discovery season 3, season 4 stuff. We'll save that for hopefully save that for another book if we can get it on the schedule. But so the Utopia Planitia covers everything Starfleet prior to Enterprise, all the way up to the very early 25th century. So this is like 2410 thereabouts. So it includes Star Trek Picard, and then it also includes a few ships from Star Trek Online, because I think their timeline is actually a little bit ahead of Picard. So we were able to kind of get a little blend there. But you'll see stuff in there even prior to the Phoenix, right? Prior to Cochrane's Phoenix, because we were able to fit in the space shuttle, and we were able to fit in the International Space Station, right? So we found a way to make those work, because they're canonical history to Star Trek, to the Star Trek universe, but also they're good examples of things that your crew might run into if you discover like a pre-warp civilization, or a civilization that's just like right on the edge of getting into warp technology. They might have a space station, they might have an orbiter type of vehicle, and we were like, why not throw them in, right? Because besides one of the shuttle orbiters was named Enterprise after Star Trek, right? So it's kind of like closing that loop a little bit. Like we brought it full circle in a way to have the Enterprise orbiter in the book itself. But yeah, so everything starships, everything Starfleet from I guess the orbiters early 80s, right? So 1980 all the way up to 2410 is the range that we're working with for this book.
So I know when we talked about your previous books, we always discuss about the struggle of all this, because all this written content you have and the art. And now, being this is a Starship book, I'm assuming art has to be very prominent.
Yeah.
Was that difficult to kind of with layout? Was it the balance of art and all the written content that is in the book?
Yeah. So this was the I think I may have talked about it in a couple previous discussions with you about some of the other books, but like one of my struggles working on really all the books up to this point was exactly what you're saying, that balance point between artwork and text, because every book has an art budget and we can only have so many pieces of art in a book. And with the command source book, it was just impossible to include a piece of art for every single space frame that we included in there. I really wanted to, but we didn't have the page real estate, but more importantly at the time, we didn't have the budget to make to get pieces of art for everything. At the time, we had access to Paramount's art archive, which was very good, but just wasn't enough for our purposes, right? For a role-playing game book, full color, you need a lot of artwork. And I think maybe 3 years into the game line, we had almost exhausted all the really usable stuff that was in their archive at the time, and plus we had the art that we were commissioning. So we were challenged a little bit, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm so excited that we were able to work up a really great partnership with Star Trek Online, because they've got great artwork for days, and you see that in the Discovery book, and you're going to see that in the Utopia Planitia book too. Because one of my primary design goals for this book was to make sure that we had a piece of art for every single space frame in it, so that a gamer wasn't going to be upset and have to go to the internet to find out what this ship looks like. Right? There's actually a picture right there on every page. And I think I also mentioned at one point, Manny, that I was always fighting to try to get one starship on a page. Like in the command book, I always wanted starship art, starship art, starship art, and have one ship per page, as opposed to having the columns of text kind of flowing together and just kind of like having the starships kind of crammed together. So right from the very beginning, right from the design outline for this book, I was really, really super intentional about wanting to have, one page per art. Now, what happened though is in the Discovery book, I wanted to do 1 page per ship, including art and text. And I was able to get that done, right? I was able to finally convince the graphic designer, let's do it this way, because I think it's going to make the best sense. It's going to look good. It's going to make the fans happy because they can look at one page, one ship, etc. But for the Utopia book, we took it a step further, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to have the lore. I wanted to have the great information in there. I wanted to provide a space frame stat block, so that it's kind of like the stock model that a player or game master group could take that stock model and then add the talents and add the other material to it and make it their own. And then I wanted to have a representative version of each space frame, so that if you're looking at the Galaxy class, you're looking at the Enterprise D, you're looking at the Sovereign, you're looking at the Enterprise D. I wanted to make sure that there was a representative ship for each class, and as well as the artwork. And the most intelligent way, just in terms of the layout, to make that happen was to do a 2-page spread for each ship. And that's part of the reason why the page count is as high as it is because we managed to cram in 55 space frames in addition to a bunch of space stations and small craft. And when you're doing 55 space frames and each of them take up 2 pages, I mean, that's 110 pages right there, right? Plus all the other content that we wanted to add into the book. Absolutely. I was very, very intentional about wanting to get as much art into the book as possible, tied into the stat blocks and stuff, so that every single ship was represented. And that was the intent, and it went really well. The biggest challenge I had in doing that, though, was sourcing enough good art, and not good as in like good quality, but like actually just finding enough art that we could use that was print quality and actually had the right kind of angle and the right kind of look and feel, so that it wasn't super jarring, right? There were a handful that took a long time to find. And there were a couple that were literally last minute discoveries, either from Thomas helping us out or dropping us a name, and then me doing an 11th hour email to a couple of people saying, hey, I need a render for this ship. Do you possibly have something in stock, so to speak, or that you can pull together pretty quick? And again, we got lucky because some of the folks who provided the renders for us were absolutely on top of their game and were able to deliver quickly, and we got it approved by Paramount really quick, which is great. So we were able to, I'm glad that we got it done, because there's a couple of places where I was like, oh, okay, if we don't find a render for this in time, we're just going to put like a picture of the Utopia Planitia, badge or something, just to fill the space. We had to do that with one ship in the Discovery book, and it hurt my heart every time I looked at that page, because it's like, oh, if we'd only had a few more weeks, we could have found a render for that. But didn't work out. But fortunately, the stars aligned, as it were, and we found or were able to pay for renders for literally everything in the book. So that, or all the space frames anyway. I think some of the shuttles, we didn't include art for the shuttles just because of page space issues. But I thought this, the space frames, the spaceship classes were the most important aspect of it, and I made sure to get a piece of art for every one of them. So that was mission accomplished. So hopefully the fans are happy. So far the fan buzz is good. So I'm glad that we were able to make it happen.
Are there any new rules added to the book, whether it be piloting or anything of that sort?
Yeah, so like actual rules, not as such, although we did add a ton of new talents, because we took the advantage of the fact that because we are adding Star Trek Online ships, Al Spader took it upon himself to really do a deep dive into Star Trek Online and to like learn how their ships are built and like what kind of talents, or not talents, I guess they're called special abilities or something. Because all the different space ships in Star Trek Online, of course, have special abilities, have special weapons, have special cool things that you can do in the game with them that in some cases translated well to Star Trek Online or to Star Trek Adventures, and in some cases didn't. But Al took it upon himself to like really go through a lot of the starships that are available and come up with gameable rules for Star Trek Adventures to bring in some really, really cool, crazy talents that you haven't seen before, because we haven't really delved into the 25th century yet in the game. But now this is an opportunity to do that. So we were able to add some really cool new talents, a bunch of new weapons, new torpedoes, new energy weapons, more mines. There's a lot of optional rules built into it. We took the opportunity to add some content about Starfleet and about Starfleet operations that maybe you haven't read before, like stuff about like salvage and retrieval operations, where if you're playing like a deep space type of campaign and your ship is out there in the middle of nowhere exploring, strange new worlds, but you don't have access to a Federation starbase or a dry dock or anything, you got to figure out the repairs on your own. There's a very good chance that you need to go out and find the raw materials in order to synthesize, hull plating or networks or ODN conduits or something. And so we added in some rules about how to do that, because why not, right? Because the great thing about a role playing game, of course, is we go, or player groups can go places that the shows don't, right? You may get into situations that the different series may never thought to come up with, because they don't need that kind of detail. But I challenge my writers to ask questions, think about the consequences. You're on like I was saying, you're on a deep space mission. You don't have access to Starfleet. You don't have access to the resources you expect. You might have a couple industrial replicators on your ship, but where do you get that raw material, right? You can't just create material out of nothing. You've got to have raw material to put into it. So, do we have mining rule, or not rules, but, do we have ideas about mining? What happens if ships come across a derelict and you need to do some salvage operations? What does that mean? So we just, threw in a bunch of these rules that I don't think fans really expected to see in the book, but I'm kind of excited about that, because it's just, ultimately my philosophy has always been to throw more tools into the game master's toolbox, into the player's toolbox. Like here's some cool ideas, here's some cool stuff, here's some optional rules, make of it what you want, and combine this book with other books and see where that takes your game. And that was really the intent behind all those optional rules that we threw in there as well. So there's just I tell you, every page, I also challenge my writers to try to put plot hooks and plot ideas and counter seeds on every page if you can, even within the sentences. Just give the players and the game masters cool ideas to do stuff with, and I think they delivered, and hopefully fans will dig it. It's only been on pre-order for a week now, and I'm confident nobody has completely absorbed the book yet, because there's just so much in there. So I'm eager to see what happens on social media here in the coming months, just as people continue to talk about it.
Are there any rules about customization of some sort? You know, as you know, most Star well, not most Star Trek episodes. Some Star Trek episodes sometimes it has, you know, something that new technology has to be made to help save the ship in some way.
Yeah.
Is there anything like that in the new book?
Um, so actually, you reminded me that there is a new set of rules in the book, and that's specifically on creating starships, right? One of the things I really appreciated about gosh, what was? And I'm looking at my bookshelf. I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at my bookshelf, trying to remember in my head. I think it was the last Unicorn Games Star Trek RPG that came out, back in the late '90s, early aughts. Steve Long wrote a book called Space Dock, and I don't think it was never published, but I think it was a book that they had intended to publish, but they didn't continue the line after that point. But that was basically a starship construction kit, right? And the PDF is available for free online. You can just go download it whenever you want. It's on his website. It's no secret, and he's got a bunch of supplements to it too. But I had hoped for this book that we could come up with some sort of way to codify the way we build starships in Star Trek Adventures, and then present those rules to players and game masters so that they could go make their own space frames, right? Knowing that earlier we were talking about all the different spaceships that are out there that are secondary canon, right? That you may have seen in a comic book or Star Trek Online or a novel or any other resource that's not Star Trek Adventures. There's just tons of Star Trek spaceships out there, right? That you can choose from. And my thought was, if we can't include that space frame in the book, we can provide you with a set of rules that you can go build your own. Right? Here's how the points work out. Here's how the system points worked out. Here's some guidelines on adding talents, adding special rules, picking a faster than light propulsion system, etc. And then just kind of making that construction kit available in a limited number of pages, because we only had so many pages to work with. And I think Aaron again took his handwritten notes basically of how he built starships for all the different books that we've done, and then codified it in such a way that makes it easy to digest, so that if you're a player and you love I don't even have a good example. I guess Prodigy, right? Because we don't have the license to Prodigy. If you wanted to build a Prodigy for Star Trek Adventures, use the toolkit in the book. You've got all the talents in the book. You've got all the weapons. Everything you need is in the book. I think everything important about starships is that we reprinted in this book and tweaked and revised. So you still need the core book to play the game, of course, but I don't think you really need the core book in order to build a ship. I think everything's in Utopia Planitia. Don't quote me on that wrong though, because I might have missed something, or we might have missed something. But I think everything you need to build a new starship for the game can be found all within the covers of Utopia Planitia. I'm pretty sure that's how we worked it out, and that's true for starships, small craft, and space stations. So any of that stuff that you want to build and create your own kind of thing, all the rules are there. All the talents, all the mission profiles, weapons, etc. So yeah, hopefully, and again, this is a place where I can't wait to see what the fans come up with, because I know they're so creative and passionate about their Star Trek that I'm really eager to see what kind of interesting spaceships and space frames come out of this.
Is there anything about this book that I haven't asked about that's added in, something that I may be surprised when I open this?
Gosh, you're testing me. See, there's a good history of Starfleet at the very beginning. I had John Kennedy write that, and I think in like 10 to 12 pages or something, he managed to condense 5 centuries of Starfleet into 5 pages. And I felt bad because I had to cut a bunch of his stuff, because he had actually written that chapter initially to go all the way out to the 32nd century, and the 32nd century stuff he wrote was really good. And I had to cut all of it because we decided to pull back the scope of the book. But I saved all of it, right? We're if we have the opportunity to do a Discovery future book, it'll find its way into that. But as far as surprises, there's a lot of stuff in the book about like life in Starfleet, and like things you do on the ship, like what do you do in your off time on the ship? What kind of duties can you be expected to do? We added a lot of random tables, so like if you need some ideas, you can roll on a table. Like maybe your group or your player character goes into the rec room or the gym to get a little downtime, or maybe there's a role-playing scene that you want to do with another character, or you want to give the game master an opportunity to drop in some subplots or something. You walk into the gym and a group of people are doing a certain martial art. Well, roll on the random martial art table just to see what are they doing. Is it Ambo Jitsu, or is it Kung Fu or Aikido, or is it something else? And we tried to pack those tables with as much Star Trek canonical stuff, so that's not just real life 21st century type stuff. It's stuff that you've seen in Star Trek. Even like some of the board games that they can play, or not board games, but different games that they play in the rec room. We've got the usual array of mission briefs. Mission briefs have turned out to be a popular format, so we were able to cram a few of those in. Again, a lot of art. But as far as surprises, I guess if anything's going to be a surprise, it's just going to be the wealth of content that's available to you. I mean, I almost feel like it's the Shackleton book over again, where we put so much time and effort into it, and then we just drop this gigantic tome on you and say, okay, here you go. Here's another 250 pages of cool content. Go have fun. Make your campaign and your game sessions amazing with this new stuff, right? All this new stuff, and we'll see. But yeah, you're challenging me, Manny, because I'm like, what's in the book that would really surprise you? And I don't know. It may be because I'm still too close to it, because I've been working on this book now for what, 9 months, 10 months or something, maybe longer than that, really, if you think about the whole pre-development thought processes.
I am surprised about the about life on the ship, because I don't think a lot of us really think about that when we're role playing. Usually we just think about one of the technical aspects, like exploration and stuff like that, but not like life on the ship. Like those like that 5-minute intro of Star Trek Next Generation, where you're just talking and something a little bit random of some part of slice of life on the ship, and then straight to the adventure. So that's actually pretty cool, because that's something that, again, once in a while, our players think like, okay, what do we do between the dangers? We got to do something else besides just being on red alert all the time.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you.
Sure.
All right. What is your favorite ship that you worked on in this book? Was there anything like, I'm so glad that this is in it, so that you can use it for your adventures?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I'm not going to say it's like trying to choose your favorite kid if you have a bunch of children, but I mean, there's so many spaceships in Star Trek that I love. Like, I mean, even from the original Constitution class Enterprise all the way up to the like the Defiant and the Sovereign class and stuff. But I think honestly, the ship that I'm really happy we got in is the Archer class. Like, I read the Vanguard novels by David Mack and Dayton Ward. And I just love the idea of a little fast scout ship in the original series era. I mean, partly because the original series, like, there's not really that many canonical ships to work from, right? In terms of like Starfleet ships that are out doing the exploration thing. Of course, the Constitution class is the big example, because it's so well known, obviously. But I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have like a smaller ship that's fast and light, not heavily armed, but can do like the scouting thing, and it's a small crew. You can get really into some really cool role playing type of stuff. So I wrote up the Archer for the tricorder set, and then we were able to fit it into this one. And Aaron helped me tweak some of the stats to make them fit with the new rule system. But I was really happy that we were able to get Bill Krause to do a render of it for us, because I would not have included it if I couldn't have gotten artwork for it. And there's not a lot of like official artwork for it. I think it was on a cover. It was on one of the Vanguard book covers. And we didn't have access to that one, and so just through Thomas and his connects with all the great people that are out there doing CGI renders of absolutely beautiful starship ships, I was like, hey, Bill, do you have an Archer render available? And he's like, well, I can whip one up, and so he helped us out. That was one of the last minute renders that we were able to source, which was a huge godsend. So I think the Archer is probably my favorite, if only because I've got this idea of a campaign on an Archer class ship, very small crew, very small number of players, and then just out there on the edge exploring space, and not in a position where it's not a Galaxy class ship and it's not a Constitution class ship. They have limited resources, limited weapons, limited means of defending themselves. So if they get into a situation against like a Klingon or a Romulan D7 or some big alien threat, it's like they're not going to try to go toe to toe with it. They're going to gather what information they can and then get out of town and go find their Constitution class stepbrother or whatever, or hide back to Federation territory to try to report in. So I just like the different dynamic of that story idea, and that's what the Archer really appeals to me in that case.
All right, excellent. So this is right now available for pre-order.
Yep.
Does the pre-order come with the PDF?
Absolutely, yeah. We decided to hold off on the pre-order a little bit because I wanted to get the PDF ready to. I wanted to have the fans to have something in their hands as soon as they pre-ordered it. So we waited a little bit on the pre-order. But yeah, if you pre-order it now, you get the PDF. Just as part of the pre-order deal, the books will ship as soon as they're out, done from the printer and stuff. But yeah, we always try to include the PDF with a pre-order, just as a thank you for pre-ordering it, because that helps in a lot of different ways. And then, of course, the PDF itself will be available for sale once the print editions start to ship.
Mm. Excellent, excellent. Very excited about this book.
Yeah,
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this. And to our viewers out there, would you be kind enough to share with us your favorite starship in the comments below? I would love to hear some ideas and inspirations. And yes, thank you all very much. Have a great day and be safe out there.